Bridges are stronger when built from both sides.
Let's connect.
Let's connect. In the middle.
Hello, and welcome to Building Bridges, a show on the Greensboro Television Network that highlights ways members of the public and members of the Greensboro Police Department can connect with each other. I'm your host, Sandra Hughes. On today's program, we'll talk about ways you can learn more about crime and your police department through the convenience of your computer or, your mobile devices. Let's start by introducing the people joining us in the studio today. We have Officer E.Y. Watkins, GPD's Media Relations Officer, and two community members, Mr. Joe Sardini and Miss April Mooney. Joe has been a Greensboro resident since 2001, and he's a retired medical technology executive and current consultant in media research. He is also the president of the Cardinal Residents Association. In that role, he helped initiate nextdoor.com within the Cardinal community. We'll talk more about that social media site a little bit later in the show. Now, April calls herself a cop's kid. She is a professional pet sitter who is involved in animal rescue. She is an avid follower of GPD's Facebook site. She's a graduate of Guilford College and the wife of a GPD officer. So welcome to all of you to our show. Now, Officer Watkins, let's start by describing what the Media Relations Officer does.
What I do is I get people connected on any social media site that we have with the community and with the police. I'm the primary person that posts things on our Facebook pages and our Twitter pages, and I just keep people connected that way.
So you're very smart when it comes to all of that stuff, huh?
Well, I'll try to be.
I have a lot of students, that all they do is thumb work, I call it. Yeah,
Yes.
good. And so how is that helping to reach out?
Well, nowadays people use Twitter and Facebook a lot of times to get their information, their news source. So, and we're also trying to reach a younger generation that also gets on those social media sites as well. So this is a way for us to connect with everyone.
Is there one in particular that's very popular?
Well, with younger people, maybe Twitter. Facebook is still popular for generations probably maybe 35 to 45. And we work with everyone, though.
Okay. So are you on these sites, April?
Well, I fall in the age bracket that's interested in Facebook. I actually don't use Twitter, but I do use Facebook, and I am on the GPD Facebook page daily.
What about you, Joe?
I am not. I am on Nextdoor, and after that, it's basically Microsoft products for me. So.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about Twitter. I mean, I hear that tweets. That's all I hear. Tweets.
I'd like to know about that too.
Yeah, wouldn't we all?
Yeah.
Well, you use 140 characters. That means if you're gonna, it's something short, sweet, and to the point. And that's how people like to get their news now. Short, sweet, and to the point. 140 characters, no more, no less. You can put a picture to kind of emphasize what you're talking about as well. When you retweet, if I put some information out and someone else wants to share it on their page, on their Twitter page, they can retweet what I say, or I can retweet what they say. It's just a really quick way to get that information out there.
She's getting us deeper and deeper, isn't she?
Yeah, retweeting is when you receive a message and then you send it to the people who listen to your tweets?
No, when you retweet, you send the information that someone else tweeted out to people that you know on your page. So it's
Kind of like sharing
Gotcha.
a Facebook
Yeah.
post.
So it's not like
It
you're
is.
answering it or anything.
No, you can answer it, but if you just want to share what they said or tell them how you feel about it, then that you could do it that way.
So how do you use Facebook? That's the one I hear so
Yeah.
much.
Facebook is, you can use how many characters you need to use. You can use pictures and videos and everything else. It's a way that we can connect with people. We have a special thing called Throwback Thursdays, where we post a lot of the pictures from back in the day where officers were from the way the uniforms used to be to the way the
Tell me
car.
something more about that. What's different about what you're wearing now and what they wore, 20 years ago?
Well, I believe it was a different color.
Really?
And it was a
Yeah.
different color.
Okay.
It was a lot tighter, tighter fit. But people would see those pictures, and if they were, back in the day when they were officers, they would remember those pictures. So we always have a lot of comments from our retired officers, like, "Oh, that's me in that picture. That's me."
Nice.
And they tell us where, because a lot of times I don't know some of the background information from those pictures. It may be at a place in Greensboro that I'm not familiar with, or that it has changed over the years. So sometimes even the scene of the picture may spark some conversations on Facebook.
Oh my! So if I find an old picture, I can send it to you, or do I tweet it to you? I mean, help me with the language here.
You can tweet it to me, or you can put it in your Facebook and send it to me, either way. Or you can just email it to me.
See, there we go. There's so many things. Now, Joe, you mentioned something called, is it, or which one of you, April or Joe, My PD, My GPD, or more My PD? It's an app.
Yeah, I actually haven't used that. I just heard about it, so I think that will be something that I download and play around with. So
Do you know about that?
I actually just installed it today on my phone, and I'm looking forward to using it. It appears to be set up so that alerts can be sent if there's an emergency, or vice versa. If I happen to witness an emergency, I can report it. And I think that's how it's going to work.
My
And-
PD app is an application that's free for all iPhones and Android phones. And what it does, it connects that Facebook page and that Twitter page, and you don't have to have an account. You don't have to have a Facebook account, or you don't have to have a Twitter account to get the information that we tweet or the information that we put on Facebook.
Okay, give me an example. Why would I use My PD?
My PD app, if you see something happening and you want to let us know about it, you can commend an officer with this app. You can tell us about something that's going on in your neighborhood in this app. If you want to talk to an officer in your district and you're trying to figure out who you need to talk to, this app will give you a contact list of all the officers that you may want to talk to. It puts everything into one, in one app.
But strictly non-emergency, right? I mean,
Right,
it doesn't replace
yeah.
911.
Yeah, I was just going to say
People
what
should
about
know that,
911?
No, it's not used for 911. In fact, we want to make sure that people understand this app is not, if it's an emergency, we want you still please to call 911. But the app, for everything else, you can use this app.
It's incredible. Yeah, I'm learning. I'm learning all of this stuff. How are you using social media, April?
well, like I said, I use the Facebook page, and I do a couple of things with it. One, I check for information. Part of my job is driving around town a lot, so I like to see the road closures. I can look and see when roads are closed and when they open back up. I keep up on, I check all the crime things that they post as far as, have you seen this person? Do you know this person? Do you know anything about this crime? And usually I don't, well, I've never known anything about the crime, but I'm trying to do my part as a citizen, staying involved, because police can't do their job unless we're helping them. I mean, they do a lot, but they need our cooperation. And so I just try to keep informed. But also, when you talked about commending officers, I, like to let them know that I'm supporting them. I support the police department. I'm participating in their efforts to communicate more. And so yeah, it's kind of two things that I try to accomplish: just staying involved and keeping up on the information that they're putting out there, and also letting them know that I support them.
So, Joe, that takes a lot of time, though, doesn't it? I mean, to actually try to do what you do personally, and then also stay in contact with the police department.
I'm sure it does, absolutely.
So now,
Not my time, because I don't really spend a lot of time on social media. I leave that to my wife, and she is on Facebook often enough to keep Sometimes I ask her, like, what's on Facebook today, you know, so, and she'll tell me.
But I would imagine that what all of you are saying to me here today is that social media is extremely important.
No, most definitely.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's where everything is going on now. It's what's happening now. A lot of people now, they want their information quick, and they want to get it as short and sweet as they possibly can. Some people still look at the news, and some people still read the newspapers, but a lot of people are looking for those tweets, or they get on Facebook throughout the day to see what's going on. So it's very important for us to put that information out to them. Our call to action things, we like to put those also on Facebook if there's something going on in the city that we think people need to know about. And also, it's a fun, interacting thing for us to do, you know, just to kind of show that human side of being a police officer on our social media sites. And so we
But
like that.
what about the folks that are 60, 70? I don't hear them talking about social media and tweeting and
Not
doing all
really,
that
but
stuff.
you know,
Yeah.
in the Cardinal community that I represent, we have lots of folks who are retired who use Nextdoor, and Nextdoor has been just awesome for us because we're the first community in the Cardinal neighborhood. It's the Cardinal Residents Association, and we're in and around the former Cardinal golf course, and the issue with us is that when the developer put our neighborhood together, he never put HOA dues on the deeds. And as a result, the dues are voluntary.
Really?
Right. So, and we're not the only neighborhood like that, but it is a problem. And so I'm always, as president, I'm always trying to get people to pay their dues because it costs, to do a mailing, it costs me almost $350 in postage and copying and things like that. But with Nextdoor, I can place and do place a notice. Some of the most recent Nextdoor posts that we've had was a community yard sale. We had a burglary recently that was immediately sent out throughout the entire Nextdoor neighborhood. We have 16 communities on my site, almost 700 email addresses. And someone had a contractor working on their place that had an accident and he couldn't continue, so they were looking for a reliable contractor. Someone else moved into the neighborhood and wanted a reference for a dentist, et cetera. So, you know, we use Nextdoor quite often.
I use Nextdoor as well, and I actually use it because of GPD. Officer Watkins, I think, was the first one to put out there, maybe on Facebook, that this was starting, and so I went and signed up. And in my neighborhood, which is on a different section or a different area of the county than where Joe lives, we have a lot of the same things. People post anything from yard sales to suspicious vehicles in the neighborhood. Officer Watkins posts different updates, and even if your dog is missing, right now there's a dog missing in our community, and we're getting daily updates from the family, and has anybody seen the dog? And so it's really puts you in touch with a whole lot of neighbors that you would probably never talk to if we all talk to maybe the few people that live right around us, but this really expands your neighborhood
Exactly.
by many blocks.
Nextdoor.com is like a community watch on social media. And that's exactly what it is. It's like Facebook for your neighborhood.
That's a really good analogy.
That
It's
is.
community watch
But if I
on-
don't live in your neighborhood, it's
Then you
not-
would be on your neighborhood.
Right.
Anybody can join Nextdoor.com. It's
Okay.
free.
So hold on. You work with the Cardinal, right, in that neighborhood.
When I started Nextdoor, I opened up a map and I drew the boundaries of the Cardinal, and I included several other communities that are related to the Cardinal. So anyone who wants to join, they would put their address in, and the site would direct them to the Nextdoor chapter, if you will, that would be appropriate for their neighborhood.
Yes.
Okay.
So
So
that's
even
how
if
you
you
get
live
news.
10 miles away in another neighborhood,
Which is the case with me. I live
With
in the
you.
Lake Brent community.
Yeah.
And everybody that lives over there, we that, like I said, you put in your address and it directs you, okay, this is the group you can join. So I can't see things that go on in the Cardinal because I'm not a member of the Cardinal, and vice versa.
But
Right?
you-
I mean,
but-
I can't see anybody.
But,
else.
That's correct.
but your neighbors, you
Right.
do your neighbors.
Yes, as
Okay.
long as they're on, yeah, and they tell you to invite, there's a way to invite your neighbors. Of course, you can always tell them about it, but there you can also tell them through Facebook and other things.
Well,
So
I've got to get my thumbs working here. Well, for all of you folks who are social media savvy, Facebook, Twitter, and MyPD are good ways to find out more about GPD and to connect with them. But those aren't the only ways you can communicate with your officers. We'll learn about some of the other programs right after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Building Bridges, a monthly show that brings together police officers and people just like you at home who've worked together to learn more about each other and to make our city safer. I'm your host, Sandra Hughes, and before the break, we shared conversation about several social media sites and an app that can help connect the police with the public. Now, we'll talk about some other social media, but let me once again tell you who our guests are today. With me is Officer E.Y. Watkins. Nice to have you with us. Also, Mr. Joe Saldarni and
Saldarini.
Miss Saldarini. There you go. See, what did I learn in the first half? And also Miss April Mooney. Thank you all for joining us today. It's very nice to have you. We talked about a number of different kinds of social media. You talked about Nextdoor. You talked about some of the other Facebook and Twitter. I'm very interested in that Nextdoor. If I live here again in a community far from yours, how do I start a Nextdoor.com in my community?
Well, first you'd have to understand whether or not there already is one. So by going to the site and putting in your address, if there was one there that you could join, you would be directed to it. But if there isn't one, then you would have the opportunity on the site to define the geography of your community and start the site, in which case you would become a host for that site. And you would then, anyone in your community who would like to join Nextdoor and receive the information that Nextdoor sends out daily, they would just simply go on the site and put in their address, and they would be directed to the Nextdoor site that you started.
Okay. And now, did you say you have one in your neighborhood, April?
yes, I'm in the Lake Brant area. So when I found out about Nextdoor through the police department, I went and typed in my address, and there was already one there. So I just joined it.
So they're all called Nextdoor.
They are, yes, that's
Right. Ours is next door to the Cardinal, yours is
right.
probably next door
Lake
Lake
Brant.
Brant.
Mhm.
So if you're going to send out something to your folks in the Cardinal, do you just put Nextdoor.com or Nextdoor.com Cardinal?
If I was going to send one out, I would go to the Nextdoor site, and the home page gives me a place where it'll say share a comment and or post
yeah.
a message. And
right.
I would type, first I would choose which neighborhoods it would go to. Like our site has almost 700 addresses attached to it. And they're not all just the Cardinal. We included all the neighborhoods around the Cardinal. Now some of them have actually started their own Nextdoor sites, but they're still part of ours. And you would then choose, if it's something that has to do with, say, dues paying for the Cardinal Residents Association, I would just have it go, I can choose to just have it go to the Cardinal Residents Association. But if it's something that's of interest to, if I want to sell my car or something, I would check that this is an advertisement for sale, so it doesn't go in as news. And then I could choose which I would want it to go to everyone, so that I'd have a better chance of selling.
You can do alerts,
Yeah.
and that's something I've seen people use in mine. Like I mentioned earlier about a suspicious vehicle, or there was somebody going door to door selling things, and I think a few people didn't feel like something seemed off about it, so they alerted everyone that you may have somebody knock on the door with this. So that would, like I said, go into the alert section, and it's more is it more of a higher priority? I mean, it seems
I
like it's a
hope
little bit
so.
more important than the yard sale one.
Officer Watson, if we mark something with an alert, does the PD get a copy of that right away, or
The
does that
only
go to
way
you?
that we get messages from you guys is from if you send us one directly. We cannot hear
Okay.
or see the conversation that a next door neighborhood posts unless we are invited to. Some people can send me private messages, and that's the only way I can see what's going on at your particular neighborhood. I am also on Nextdoor in my neighborhood, so I am one of the lead people in my Nextdoor community as well. And I also work with the MyPD app for the police department. But the only way the police can hear what someone has to say in their neighborhood is if we get a message from them directly. So you can have private conversations going on within your neighborhood, but we can only see them if we get invited to.
Well, I can't wait to get home and see if there's a next door in my neighborhood because
Yes.
I
There
had
you go.
not heard that before.
Yes.
How much of a help is it to the police department to have websites like this?
Oh, it is tremendous help for us. Just for the mere fact that people are getting involved, letting us know what's going on in the neighborhood. Even if it's something where, like, something may be going on in the neighborhood where they need some help because they don't know who to call, they will email me, direct message me, and on Nextdoor to say, "Hey, Officer Watkins, this is what's going on. How can I get this problem solved?" It may be a police question, it may not, but since we partner with people within the city, I have that information at my source where I can get in contact with people and help them out as well. So it's great. I love it.
So for folks who are just moving to the community, let's say to the Greensboro Triad community, how do they learn more about you? You have a website, right?
We do. We do have a website. It's www.gsopd.org. And on this page, you can find out many things about us, how our department is broken into parts, and what from getting help to finding out what's going on in your neighborhood, finding out who your community resource officer is, to even how to pay a traffic ticket. We have all that information on gsopd.org.
That's a lot of information.
It is. It's,
Okay. I hope it's not confusing.
No.
Because a lot of people may be able to turn the computer on, go to a website, but then they get lost after that because there's so much going on that page.
It's very easy. You just click on whatever you want to find out about. I mean, it's just a simple click, and even if you click too many times, you can go back and find out what you really want to know.
Now, this show, Building Bridges, is all about bringing community, residents, and the police department together. And what I'm hoping we're doing is not separating, it's y'all and them. It's all of us. So why is it so important to you that we have this kind of show, Building Bridges?
Well, exactly, because it is going to help us out. I mean, it can't do anything but help. When you have two people or you have a community and the police department working together, we can solve so many things. Because we work because they work, and that's how it works. See, when they call us, they let us know what's going on, and they tell us where the problems are, because we can't be at every place at every time. So when they let us know, hey, we have people walking in our neighborhoods, or I saw this is suspicious, because we don't know what's suspicious in their neighborhood. They do, because they live there. So when they call us and let us know, then we can come and help.
So how often do you actually communicate with the police department?
I never have,
Ah.
and that's because I haven't had occasion to. So,
And that's a good thing, right?
but it brings up a good point. If I'm not sure on Nextdoor how I would communicate with Officer Watson or the PD in general. So if I don't know it, then I'm sure many of the people in my community don't know it. So I'll have to put out a Nextdoor message that says, if you need to communicate with the PD, then here's the way to do it on Nextdoor. And I'll be doing that tonight.
That sounds great.
It is.
But there's also, isn't there a resource officer in each community?
There's a community resource officer that works specifically with each neighborhood that you live in, whether it's in District 1 or in District 4, it doesn't matter where you are. There's going to be one particular officer that kind of helps out with
Sure.
that Nextdoor.com. Anytime you want to direct message me or anyone else on nextdoor.com, you just go up to the create a post, or you can put in, click on message, and then you can find that person you want to talk to, and then you click
What if
on
you can't
them.
remember their name?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be a list. When you click on it, it's going to be like a list.
But
where
do you
can
have to
pick
have a
from.
name, though? You know, he says, what if you don't know a name?
Yeah, it seems like there could be a generic,
Right.
contact of GSOPD.
I would be the generic person.
Right, but
Generic officer.
Right. I would,
officer generic.
well, I would be the person, Officer Watkins, I would be the person that you would contact.
Yeah.
And you say, I need to find out who my community resource officer is.
No, I
would-
understand. But what if someone in my community or me didn't remember your name? How would we know that it's the police department that we're contacting? That's the thing. I've got to figure that out and send it out to the people
That's what I was saying.
on my
because
site.
if he's going to,
Yeah.
and you're going to let your neighborhood know, what do you say to them?
And as far as you asked how often he communicates with the police department, I communicate with the police department probably daily. I know you and I have talked about via messages.
Yes.
So you're married to an officer, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and of course, of course I know people in the department because of that. But really, Watkins and I know each other just because of Facebook, and so we've gotten to talk a lot, and I can message things and all kinds of stuff. Really, it's great to. I think you talked about the humanity of policing, and I think that's one thing I like about all of these ways to communicate with officers is that you don't just speak to them in an interaction that they've initiated because you did something like you were speeding. I think it's good to get to know them and see that they're not just, of course, they're people too, but they live here, they care about the things that we care about. That's why they joined the police department. And so I think it's just a great way to sort of take it down a little bit and have a more casual interaction, and that's one thing I like about Facebook. It's just all that.
If I could ask you to speak for the police department, and I know you're not the chief or anything, are you?
Not yet.
What would be your vision for what you would like to see this community become, since we're talking about building bridges?
I would love for people to know and understand that we are here for them because we live in the community too. So of course we want it to be just as safe as anybody else does. We want people to be able to connect with us in many types of ways, whether it be social media, in person, any way that they can to get us to understand what they're trying to say to us, because we are trying to be as transparent as possible. So for that, we're going to need your help. And so we want you to know that we are approachable. We are approachable people. Yes, we wear the uniform, the badge, and the gun, but we are approachable, and you can talk to us.
And obviously, that's why you're doing what you do with Nextdoor, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And then Facebook, and I tell people a lot on Facebook, if you really want to know how things are going on the police department, the best thing you could do is go walk into a police station and ask to go for a ride along. And that
Really?
I tell people that all the time.
Really?
Yep.
Really? Joe, we need to go right along.
It's a way to spend some time with them and see how they do their job, and those are things I say on Facebook all the time. If you really want to know how things work, go spend a few hours with one of these guys or girls, spend time with them and watch them do their job.
So do you have people just come out of the woodwork and say, I want to know more about what you do?
Oh, sure. I mean, people contact us on Facebook or on Twitter all the time, and they ask us questions about, why does this happen? Why do police do this, or why do police do that? And we answer those questions. We also have a YouTube page where people can see videos where how we train. They can see those type of things on our videos too. So we are as open book as we can be.
And for a more in-depth look at, you can join Greensboro Police Department Citizens Academy.
Which we're both members
Yeah.
of.
What does that mean? What do you do?
It's a 18-week, 2-hour session every other week. Runs for 18 weeks, and it highlights all the aspects, I think, of the Greensboro Police Department. The patrol division, the criminal division, the
forensics,
Thank you, yeah.
simulations of, at some point we're going to get to
K-9 division?
Yeah, last night we met with K-9 officers, and we'll be able to see the simulations of the things that officers are actually real life situations for them. We can sort of try that out for ourselves, and so I think it's the breakdown of the police department. It's crime mapping. It's all these different things. It's neighborhood oriented policing. We're getting to learn all of that, by coming to these classes.
So what we're seeing on TV is crime dramas. Need to talk to her.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But I am looking forward to NCI Greensboro. That's coming up in a couple of months.
I think that would be very interesting, don't you? How do you feel about the stuff we see on TV?
I'll look at it sometimes because I know what it really is like. Sometimes it can be true, and sometimes I look at it as like it doesn't happen that way. We don't solve crimes in 30
an hour.
Right. Sometimes we do if we get lucky, but most of the time we do not. It just gives people an idea, a little idea of what goes on. But if they really truly want to know what's going on, they should just contact us.
Just knock on the door, huh?
Yeah, contact us directly through either social media, our Facebook pages, our Twitter pages, our YouTube. Just contact us.
Well, you all have made it very clear to me that social media is extremely important when it comes to building bridges between the community and the police department. So many of those who are my age or older think, oh no, I just rather watch the news at 6 o'clock. But obviously this is a way that we can make it all happen.
I think there's enough room for all kinds of interactions with the police department as far as you don't have to just interact with them through social media. You can do the Citizens Academy. You can just get to know, there are these coffee with a cop that I've learned about on Facebook and I've actually gone to, where a local business, a restaurant or a coffee house will host time with officers, and you can just go in for a couple of hours and just sit with them. There's just a multitude of ways, I think, no matter what age you are, to get to know our
Well,
officers.
I have enjoyed this conversation, Joe, April,
So we.
EY. This has been fun, and we could go on and on, but I think we're giving people the message, and I thank you all for sitting with me for this time.
Very welcome.
Like I said before, this has been a really interesting show. I learned so much about social media and how it takes us a little further in our dialogue among members of the public and the police department. Now, I know everyone has a busy life, of course, but with all these online tools and social media sites available, you and GPD have plenty of ways of connecting with each other. I encourage you to sign up, subscribe, log on, follow, email, tweet, text, post, do all of those. Message your form of expression and connection with the Greensboro Police Department. And if you can't connect with each other face to face, take advantage of the many virtual ways you can do it to build those bridges. Until next time, I'm Sandra Hughes, and you be safe.
This show was funded in part by the Greensboro Police Foundation, an independent nonprofit organization whose mission is to enhance Greensboro's economic strength by promoting the safest city possible for its residents, workers, and visitors through support of the Greensboro Police Department. For more information about the Greensboro Police Foundation, visit www.greensboropolicefoundation.org.